as you have more and more experiences, and like for us in the software world, but I think this is true anywhere, you get outside your comfort zone and you're doing something you didn't expect to do, and you're kind of making it up as you go. And once you've done it and you're like, that actually was really good, we could do that again, and we could even do it better. And it does just kind of continue to build on itself.
Welcome back to Beyond Your Books, a small business growth podcast. I'm your host, Mark Tuggle, and I am really excited to introduce you to our guests today. I have with me Cory LaPlante, and Cory is the owner and CEO of LaPlante Management, which that in and of itself probably doesn't mean anything to you unless you are in the Zendesk implementation space. Then you're thinking, oh, how did Mark get a rock star like that on his podcast? So Cory's been doing that for several years and has built a really outstanding business with an incredible reputation in the Zendesk implementation space. And I want to turn it over to him to introduce himself a little more fully, and then we will get into our conversation. Cory, welcome to the podcast.
Oh, thanks for having me, Mark. Like you said, I'm Cory, founder, CEO of LaPlante Management. We're a software consulting firm. I also might be the only person who can claim to have worked for Mark Tuggle at two different organizations. Before I was a software nerd, I was an accountant. So if you're looking for the things that are somehow less cool than previously, I think I'm now all the way as far as you can go into that level of nerd.
You started out as uncool and have gotten less cool. Is that what you're saying, Cory?
That's where I'm at. You betcha.
I don't think that's the case. But yes, Cory and I have been friends for a long time. We've worked together in a variety of ways. And we'll talk a little bit more about that journey because I always like to explore with my guests. How did you get to where you are now, doing what you're doing? And obviously, I know a big chunk of your journey. I, some of it is my fault, in fact, but I'd love for you to share a bit more just about your journey and what's brought you from just accounting nerd to software nerd like you are today.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's the typical path. You wait for a global pandemic and then you start a company in the midst of whatever the greatest upheaval the world has ever seen. Like that is kind of our story. And it's fun because I tell the short version of this story all the time. I was working at a CPA firm. My boss says to me, you have 6 months to train your replacement. And also, you should start a business and we'll be your first client. And my first thought was, can we go back to the part where I don't have a job in 6 months? And that boss of mine had more faith in me than I had in myself. Within 2 weeks, I had my first client. A week later, I had another. Things just continued to grow from there. When that 6 month window ended, I was already looking to hire somebody part time. That part timer became my first full time employee. Things have continued to take off ever since. But the fun of this podcast is I get to go back and mention that that boss who kicked this baby bird out of the nest is the guy interviewing me now. So like you said, Mark, it really is all your fault.
It is all my fault. I am proud in this case to say it's my fault, and I had no doubt, Cory, in terms of what LaPlante Management was going to become. Actually, you've exceeded my very high expectations, so that makes it super fun for me to just watch and grow. And I know you're probably not going to brag on yourself, but Cory's firm for as a Zendesk implementer was named Implementer of the Year last year for 2024 by Zendesk in the United States. So it's not just me and Cory saying Cory's business is doing a great job. The people in the industry that he serves are saying he's doing a great job too.
Yeah,
Um,
thank you.
so now that you're here and you're doing all this and you've got employees and you said like it was growing from the beginning and now you've got how many full-time and part-time staff working with you?
Yeah, so there are 5 full-time and about double that part-time. That number tends to fluctuate just depending on how much work there is. But yeah, I would say there's somewhere around 15 folks that in one way or another are aligned to the plant management.
All right, super. So let me ask you this. What is most fun about your professional life right now?
Yeah, I think this part of it. So our job and what we do is helping people help other people. So, like you mentioned, what we do is with Zendesk, which more often than not is the customer service context that can be clients of any size anywhere in the world. So we're in the business of making it better and easier to engage with these companies, which is really rewarding.
Great. And so that's the rewarding part. What's the challenging part for you right now?
For me specifically, it's being responsible for others. I'm not an entrepreneur. I never wanted to be an entrepreneur. Like I said, it's your fault that I have a company. I wouldn't have done it on my own. And I think there's a personality that's kind of the standard entrepreneur that thrives in the unknown. And I am the exact opposite. It's not me knowing that my decisions have an outsized impact on other families, on other people. It's a lot to carry, and so the biggest challenge for me is that weight of, "Oh gosh, if I screw this up, it's not just me that's impacted by that," and that obligation to my staff is one that I certainly don't take lightly.
Right. And so from that perspective, because I know when you launched, you thought, well, hopefully I'll be able to get enough work for me to do. And you
Yeah.
thought, initially you just be this solopreneur, gun for hire, doing this implementation. And then, like you said, within 6 months, you were already hiring your first part-timer and she became a full-time employee. So what was that process of giving yourself permission to allow the plant management to get bigger than you in terms of its delivery capability?
I mean, I'm gonna get all religious on you with my answer, but it really was, "Hey, I don't feel like I built this in the first place. This felt like God's plan, not mine." And so holding that loosely to say, "Hey, if this is where we ought to go, if this is what life ought to look like, then I should be willing to follow that wherever it takes us." I had no expectations that it would become what it has become. So there I think I would say, I don't know if I really ever have given myself permission, and there is still a ton of imposter syndrome in it. But also, I don't feel like this was something that was ever my plan, and so where it leads is a place I'm willing to follow.
I appreciate you sharing that, Corey. I deal with the imposter syndrome problem myself. I think someday I want to try to do maybe even a podcast panel and just talk about the insecurities that we face as business owners, especially in growing businesses, and it just the uncertainties, the fears, the trepidation, the imposter feeling. Just there's so much there, and yet I would agree with you. By God's grace, we somehow managed to find ourselves there and it working. So, sometimes we feel like it works in spite of us, but I think that's a real topic for small business owners. Is just how do you how do you push through the fears that come up as your business is growing, as you're taking on more responsibilities for clients, for employees, and and saying things about yourself that you aren't entirely sure are true about
Yeah.
yourself.
Yep. All of it.
Yeah.
All of that has been true, continues to be true. You get used to saying, in the process of selling yourself, you get more comfortable with it, but you never get entirely comfortable with it. And I don't think I ever want to be. If I fully believe some of the things that come out of my mouth about what our company is capable of, I don't know if I ever want to get all the way there. I do want to be there, but maybe not 100%.
That's a great perspective to have. But then still, how do you find yourself growing, not just like numerically or financially, number of clients, but continuing to grow and develop, mature as a company? I know I mean, I introduced you as being a Zendesk implementer, and I know that's really the core of what you do, but that's not all you and your team do. How are you looking at, just kind of in light of the, hey, we do more than I sometimes believe we do, but and at the same time, you're starting to say, we can do more than you think we do as well. How do
Yeah.
you manage that tension and then market it that way?
Yeah, well, I'm the worst marketer there's ever been, so not is maybe the answer on that piece, but I think there's something around as you have more and more experiences, and, like, for us in the software world, but I think this is true anywhere, you get outside your comfort zone and you're doing something you didn't expect to do, and you're kind of making it up as you go. And once you've done it and you're like, that actually was really good, we could do that again and we could even do it better. And it does just kind of continue to build on itself. And so, even within the world just of Zendesk, Zendesk was at one point this big and it has gotten bigger and bigger and bigger in terms of the complexity of implementation or optimization or integration or whatever it's going to be. And the more you do those things, the more you realize you can do those things. So it's as much experience as anything else, because yeah, I think it's totally reasonable to doubt that you could do it until you've done it, and then it's crazy to doubt that you because you already did it, and so now
Right.
it's just like, well, of course I can, and we can do more, we can do that better, but until you've done it, yeah, I don't think it's crazy at all to have those doubts and fears, um, but just press through them because it turns out you can do a whole lot more than you think you can. I had no idea the things that we would be able to do, and now I don't even do most of it, so I don't have to try to claim the credit. It's not me, but, yeah, there's a lot more that can be done than you might expect you're capable of.
Yeah, and I'm gonna digress here for a moment and probably start monologuing. Uh, there's so many things that you just said in that response that I want to say some things about. One, you talking about not being a marketer. That's nonsense. You sell your company great, but this is what I want to talk about, and I think this is what has allowed you to, well, let's try that and then say, oh, we did that well. And then say, let's do more of that. Because I think one of the things that has made your business so successful, one of the things that has caused people to say, this is the firm you want to work with, that has allowed you to attract the quality of people that you've attracted, it is the values that you bring, your personal values that you bring into your business and your uncompromising position on that. I know you personally, and I know you would have never made that first hire if that weren't someone who was really aligned with your personal values and the values that the delivery kinds of values, the quality of relationships you want to have with your clients, the kind of uh, the the kind of conversations you wanna have with your clients, that it's not, this isn't just some kinda transactional thing, we do this thing, it's this many hours, like, you genuinely want to help these people solve their problems. You have the capability, your team has the capability, but in a lot of our worlds, I mean, it's kinda table stakes to hire subject matter experts, but you're also hiring people who genuinely care about the service they provide and about the clients that they're providing those services to.
Yeah.
And people feel that. People know that. And people want that. They want to be liked. They want to be loved. They want to be cared for. They want people who are for them, and you're for people and your team is for people. And so, on one hand you talk about, well, it's just this nerdy software development and implementation or optimization, and there are all kinds of, ones and zeros and buttons to push and code to write and those kinds of things. But at the end of the day, there's, like, every purchase decision is still an emotional one, and people want to work with you and work with LaPlante Management because of the way you serve them and service their needs. And so to me, that's Like, that's the most natural, organic kind of marketing there is. And you're right. I mean, it's not like you got a big marketing company work behind you, because you don't. But it's because people say to other people who need what you do, this is the guy you want to work with. So in that regard, yeah, you don't do marketing, but because of the kind of company that you've built and the values that you've consistently lived out, not just espoused. Like, I haven't been to your website in a long time. I don't know if you've got your core values written down, but I could probably name them and know that you live those out. So don't sell yourself short on the marketing piece, because everybody really wants a business that just grows and meets all of their client needs because of referrals. And I know that's a big part of what you've built, and I would say it's because of those values. And you don't have to respond to that, but if there's anything you wanna add, feel free.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny, we don't have it on there because I've never found a way to say it smoothly, but basically it is just, can we be decent human beings and can we be competent at what we do? And it doesn't have to be more complicated than that. And we've gotten a really positive response from that from our clients. And you're right. They're telling other people, Zendesk corporately is telling people, hey, these are the guys you ought to go talk to. We have personal trust with them. So there is something there, um, but it doesn't have to be this slick show of, well, and look at all the flashy things I did. I mean, again, the accountant that turned into a developer is not on the cool list, but I do have those two things going for me. We know what we're talking about, and we do care. Like we genuinely want it to be, hey, did you get what you wanted to get? And if not, let's make sure we get you there. So it sounds overly simple, but you're exactly right. Like that is, if that's all the marketing we ever do, I'm happy with that because those are also things that I can sleep well at night saying, hey, that those are two things we always provide to our clients.
That's great. That's great. I appreciate that. So I wanna shift gears a little bit more here, because even though even though this podcast is called Beyond Your Books, I do have a bookkeeping practice, so I'm always interested to hear how business owners handle their books, why they handle them that way. Do they have plans to change how they're handling them in the future? I'll give people a clue. People probably have already picked up. You have an accounting background. What they don't know is that your lovely wife is also an accountant. So talk to us about how LaPlante Management handles its books and what your plan is for uh, as you move forward as well.
Yeah, I mean, advantage me. I am the worst accountant in my marriage, and I was an accountant for a decade. So you're right. My wife was an accountant before we had kids, did far more professionally than I ever will. She does manage our books today. And so we get lucky in that sense of we both come from a background where this was pretty natural for us and is something that we enjoy. But yes, between the two of us and like a 90 her, 10 me split, we manage our books ourselves.
Got it. Got it. Yeah, and it's funny when I thought I'd love to have Corey on the podcast. I'm like, yeah, but he's not going to exactly be advertising for outsourcing your books.
Yeah,
But
but
that's okay, because this is beyond your books. So,
well, and the other thing is, though, consider that what I do for a living is outsourced work. And so if it is not the thing you are an expert in, don't do it yourself. And that's what I'm telling everybody that works with us. I would also say that to all of your listeners, Mark. The fact that I happen to have this background makes me kind of a weirdo in that that's just not how it is for most people
mhm,
at whatever stage of owning or running a business. And so if this is not something that you did for the decade prior to starting, maybe don't do it the way I'm doing it. Just like there's so many other things that I'm certainly not going to claim to be an expert or try to do myself.
sure, sure. You got it. All right, Corey, now I want you to go back in time. I'd love to hear what advice you have for, let's see, you're still pretty young. So, I mean, I think I might have said like 30-year-old Corey, maybe 25-year-old Corey. What kind of advice would you give yourself kind of being where you are now, knowing what you know now?
So 25-year-old Corey was so sure of what his life would look like and the career in accounting that it was gonna be. At 25, this was before kids, certainly before owning and running a business. The reality of life today looks nothing like what 25-year-old me would have imagined, and I mean that in hugely positive ways. I think this is the thing, and this may be offensive to the fellow finance and accounting people who are listening. I would tell 25-year-old Corey not to be such a cheapskate and not to spend so much time and energy worrying about money. The way I've always described it to people, and this is genuinely true, um, at 25, maybe still some today, my wife is frugal, I'm cheap. And at 25, very much so, that was true for me. I was so focused on where I can save pennies and the spreadsheets that I could track all the things, and I wasted a lot of my energy and a lot of my time on that. I would tell younger me to maybe just relax a little bit, especially when it comes to money and the focus on it that I had.
Yeah, that's good. I might tell 25-year-old me to pay a little more attention to money. Uh, yeah, I think it does have a lot to do with kind of where we come from and what our bent is and where our focus is. That's funny. Yeah, 25 if 25-year-old me paid attention to money like 55-year-old me does, 55-year-old me would feel a lot more comfortable.
I get that.
That's good. Yeah, that's good. That's good perspective. So Corey, you know, how long ago was it that you started LaPlante Management? I lose track of time the older
Yes.
I get. So
So beginning of 2020, it's been, yeah, at this point, almost 6 years.
okay, almost 6 years. So you're almost 6 years. You start out as just you kind of taking jobs on Upwork,
Yeah.
and now you've got 15 people doing work for you, implementer of the year. You're doing other kinds of software development and just exploring and expanding what kinds of ways can you serve your existing clients and those that they're referring to you. So, so where does LaPlante Management go from here? What's next for LaPlante Management, if you can talk about that, and maybe just you know what what in your mind, like you said, 25-year-old Corey had a plan. I bet 40-year-old Corey has a plan too. So, so let us in on a little bit, and then maybe
Yeah.
we'll come back 15 years from now and say, how did it go?
There we go. I mean, I think 40-year-old Corey has learned to have less of a plan. I think one of the things over these almost 6 years, every time I've tried to cap what the business will look like, God has opened new doors I didn't even know existed. If it's me giving this answer, I wanna stay where we are, I wanna just be stable and steady, be happy with what we have. But I think the more honest answer, and the one that I want to be a true answer for both me personally and for LaPlante Management, I wanna hold that future loosely and be open to what it is that may come, as opposed to the 25-year-old me that was like, "Well, it'll be this and this and this, and we'll have this thing done at this time." And as this has gone, it has been nothing I planned, nothing that I thought would happen. And so, what the next 5, 6 years looks like, the next 15 years looks like, I don't think I wanna try to put any limits on what that could be. Because again, I don't intend for it to be this massive growth, but I didn't intend for it to be even this little company that it is. So where it goes from here, I wanna really hold that open-handed and say, we'll see. Let's just go where it takes us."
Wow, I know you, and I know for you to say that and to want to mean it is a big deal. So,
Yes.
well, and I would just encourage you with this. I think, just to come back around to those core values in the way you operate your business. I think that's what gives you the freedom to hold that loosely, because it's like, hey, whatever we do and on whatever scale we do it, we're going to do it well and we're going to treat people decently. And so knowing that's not going to change, the volume at which you deliver that, a kind of breadth and depth of how you deliver that, you can kind of be open to see where it goes, because like you said, when you go to bed at night, we're going to provide quality and we're going to treat people well. A lot of businesses could do a lot worse if that's all they were paying attention to. That's
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. We have a limited set of KPIs.
Well, Cory, I appreciate so much this conversation, and I appreciate you personally as a friend, and I'm super thrilled about where your business has gone. It would have been a lot more awkward conversation if we were talking about me telling you you've got 6 months left and you were out on the streets and still didn't know what you were going to do with your life.
Yeah, if this was me from your basement where I've been living the last 6 years, that would have been a very different
Exactly.
conversation. So, gosh, Mark, just thank you, 1, for having me on here, but thank you for pushing me out when I needed it. Not a lot of people care enough to do something that hard to one of their friends, and you could not have been more right. So, just thank you.
Yeah, thanks so much. Great time, Cory. Appreciate it.
Thanks for watching. If this episode sparked ideas or brought value to your journey, hit subscribe here for more insights that empower small businesses to thrive with purpose. Dive into more episodes here to keep learning, growing, and making an impact. See you next time.